All right, here we go. Hey, everybody. I am so excited. I am excited because this particular morning, as we come to Family Devotions Table, I'm grateful that we are joined this morning by Hess. Hess, who is a co-founder of the Chesapeake Conjure Society. If you watched this past Friday's Family Devotions video, then you'll remember that I raised this group and I talked about what they would be doing on Sunday, November the 1st. And just so y'all know, it is still Sunday, November the 1st. We are pre-recording this conversation and playing it back at the Family Devotions table. But I had to do this tonight because I am tingly all over because of the amazing experience that I was just blessed to participate in. But before we get to that, Hess, thank you so very much for joining us in this morning's conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me as a guest to help set the tone for everyone's day.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, Hess, let me confess, I've been following your Twitter account for a little while. And I have been amazed and excited by the links and the playlist and the books and the everything else that you've been sharing, and have learned so much. And when I went to the website of the Chesapeake Conjure Society, I just got an education. Like, I feel like I got a second doctorate. Like, it was an education that my soul and my heart was hungry for. You are the co-founder of the Chesapeake Conjure Society. For those who are not familiar, can you share a little bit about the Chesapeake Conjure Society?
Absolutely. And so the Chesapeake Conjure Society officially became an incorporated group this year. We had been doing events for years before then, and we noticed the same folks, we just keep showing up and showing up. We've done elevation, altar building events for Black women whose lives have been lost to systemic misogyny and police violence, domestic violence. We've done like sacred movement in the woods and everything. We've done a lot. We've also done cemetery work before All Saints Day, just to go there and to clean up, to give reverence. And so we are a group that is a hoodoo-centered group, but it's more than that. It's a community-centered group, and we do spiritual things together. We're a spiritual activism hub, and we welcome Black people, just Black people specifically, of any faith, whether you're a Christian, you're an Aisheshe, Wudang, Voodoo, what have you, to come and be in community with us and to undergo this very like ancestral and community-based work together.
Hess, when you said hoodoo, some of the people watching was like, ooh, they clutched their imaginary pearls, because there's such a negative connotation has been assigned to African and African American spiritual traditions. Can you explain, though? Help do some work as we set the tone for the day.
Right.
Can you help us do some healing work with respect to even that impulse and that reaction with respect to hoodoo? What is hoodoo, and why do we react the way that we do?
Oh, that's a good question. And I want to first start with saying that even people who call themselves hoodoo practitioners, like I do, it's a series of traditions and practices that we didn't always know how to name. And so there are so many Black traditions that are hoodoo, like the Black Eyed Peas and Greens at New Year's Eve. The reason why, if you ever slept over your mother, your great aunt's feet, and they had like a fit, an absolute fit, they were just not having it because it implicated something, right? The ways that, especially Black folks, I've noticed that the way that certain past elders or people have passed away, like their pictures and trinkets and stuff kind of congregate, in one area, and it becomes like an altar of a way. Hoodoo, what my definition of it, it's a living tradition. It is the ways that our Africanisms and the ways that our community and our resistance has taken form to be like a spiritual system. It's something that historically a lot of Black people did do, in tandem with whatever beliefs they had, whether they were Christian. There were also even Muslim hoodoo people, or people who were hoodoo, but they had, like an African like approach to it. So with hoodoo, I would say that so many Black people do it and don't really realize it. And
Mm.
it's just our tradition and it's our culture. And it isn't always this idea of tricks and spells and I'm going to hurt somebody and do something like that. But even the idea of manifesting, calling a blessing over someone's life, praying over somebody, praying for some money, lighting a candle, those things are pretty hoodoo. And what else? What was the other part of that? You said, what is
Our reaction to it.
oh, yeah, our reaction to it is because we've been programmed to believe that anything that came from Black people is evil, whether it is our spirituality or even something as natural as our emotions and our anger and our rage. There are certain things that if it makes white people uncomfortable, especially, they in turn fed us their fear.
Mm.
When we did that, they were telling us that we, had certain damnations or we would, be heard or our souls wouldn't be free if we believe certain things, if we do certain things. And they don't only do it with hoodoo, they do it with our anger too. They do it with the ways that we resist and we protest too. So when I say like when it comes like to a Black response to things, hoodoo is a Black response, a spiritual response. Protest is a Black response. And it comes from demonization. And we have a long way to go to unpack kind of that pearl clutching that happens whenever someone mentions these African traditions. However, they aren't evil because to think that these are evil is to think that we are evil, right? That we come from evil people, that we have evil ancestors. Our ancestors, even prior to the transatlantic slave trade, there was a mix. It was a lot of people who practiced African traditional religions, but it was also people who converted to Islam, and even some people converted to Christianity prior to the transatlantic slave trade and came over here. And, there's this idea that everything that happened prior to us being trafficked around here was primitive, and not good. And it's really funny because while we are taught to, think that our stuff is bad, they're going back to our stuff and calling it innovative.
Ooh.
Whether it's like earth-based living, or certain spiritualities or the ways that, we believe that we come back, and, reincarnate, and people kind of like grasp reincarnate, but all of us have had a new baby born in our family. Oh, ain't nothing but such and such to come back, grandma this, auntie that, uncle that. And so pretty much just internalized anti-Blackness is the reason why, people grasp. And it's not to make them feel bad about themselves, but I think in many traditions, the first part of like exercising yourself of an entity that's harming you is to name it, call it by name. And we got to call it by name. That's internalized anti-Blackness. And, once we call it by name, then we can start saying what we need to say and learn what we need to learn to let go of that and to get rid of it.
Woo! Good gracious. You dropping jewels and gems on us this morning. But I'm so grateful. When you started talking about black eyed peas and greens, like my family been doing that, and my church community and church families have been doing that for eons. You also had me thinking about like it's like to this day, if I split the pole, I don't even know if this is hoodoo, but we don't believe in splitting the pole, right? So if we walk in and somebody split the pole, one person will go back and walk around and say, I don't know if that's voodoo or not, but you just got me thinking about all the stuff we've been doing that we've not really had maybe an understanding or name for, or been disconnected from our knowledge of it, I guess.
Yes. And the thing is, like, I know this is controversial, but I know on Twitter, and this may have been the tweet that had you follow me, where I said, do you want to know what gives the Black church edge? And they say, "Qua, it's hoodoo." And it's because I have never seen anything like the Black church in my entire life, and you cannot find it in any other Christian community. And it's because we have some pretty beautiful Africanisms that have married with Christianity, and we catch the Holy Ghost in a certain way. And y'all be anointing the oil in a certain way, and y'all be having the altar call in a certain way. And it doesn't mean that people's faiths are less, or they don't follow Christ, in a good way. But it's just like these Africanisms are strong, and they can live within you, and it's not a bad thing. They just like they're refusing to die, and I'm pretty sure the things that make the Black church beautiful, people don't want them to die anyhow. And it's us, it's ours to have, it's ours to claim.
You got my heart vibrating in my chest right now because, yeah, that tweet right there, when you said that, I said, I don't know who she is, but I'm coming and I'm following because I have been curious and seen some of those kind of connections for a long time, even in the songs we sing.
Yes. Yes.
Powerful songs around blood and around sacrifice and around love. And even we don't got time to go all the way there, but even like the tonality of our songs, there's certain melodies and harmonies. There's this foot stomping, this rocking, that a piece of that I experienced with y'all today in the middle of Mount Auburn Cemetery. And so a part of my tingle right now is also because I'm literally just getting in the house from the All Saints Day experience. And I just want to thank you for bringing that together. For those who may have missed it, what happened today at Mount Auburn Cemetery?
Oh my goodness, I'm still coming because you know when something happens and you haven't digested it yet and it hasn't really sunk in yet. And so I can tell you on a really basic level what we did. We went out, we cleaned around the cemetery because as many people actually don't know, Black cemeteries are systemically disinvested in. They are the ones that do experience vandalism and trash and getting built over and bought up. And so around, say, Mount Auburn, there's a lot of trash. It wasn't much in, thank goodness. There's a lot of trash, so we cleaned that up. You know, we asked for permission at the gate. We set up an altar, in kind of in a way, not really an altar, but some like a makeshift, area. We gave candles, offerings. We poured libation. We spoke. We did a ring shout. We did the electric slide. We sang some more. I had a singer come and do some more singing, and it was just spirit raising. I think for both us, the living, and for the dead too.
It was so powerful and beautiful in that, like you said, all of that lived together in the same space, from the electric slide to a ring shout to laughter and it was beautiful. And I really want to thank you too, because it gave me an opportunity to bring my children and have them really take in that space, take in what was happening. And what I have learned and I'm still learning is that even when it looks like they're not paying a lot of attention, they really are soaking it up. And so thank you for setting the table for me to be even a more intentional dad and be more intentional with my fathering of these beautiful boys. One of the things that we did while we were there, we walked around a little bit because I wanted them to really understand the sacred ground that we were on. And they could not help but to notice the condition of the cemetery, the grass overrunning so many of the tombstones and the gravestones, so many of the gravestones being knocked over, or they just couldn't help it. And we had a little conversation, Hess, that made me curious about any type of connection between the condition of that city of the dead and the condition of the Black community in Baltimore and broadly concerned. We just started talking, is there a link between the condition of that and condition of us? And until we deal and engage with our ancestors in more honorable ways, then we're going to have some deep struggles. Have you ever thought, this was a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old and their dad. So this is what came up. Have you ever thought about that, or have people already spoken on those types of connections before?
I love that. And a friend of mine has written on it. And what I love about it, because she consulted me when she wrote, her name is Amber Butts. And it's for Zora magazine that she wrote. And then she was saying the desecration of Black cemeteries, is like eroding our culture. And if if those get lost, we forget a piece of our culture. And because they do hold so much of our culture, and I believe that there are definite links between the state of our cemeteries and the state of us living. The biggest one is the systemic investment. They are systemically disinvested in us in every point of life, whether we're on this living side of life or whether we're dead. And so there's this misconception that death is the great equalizer. And we've seen that is not true, that even in death, you can be in a cemetery that is not kept up, that is not kept well. And, we have a lot of systemic racism to blame for that. And also we have this investment, and also we have a community who, is not always empowered to, clean up or to think about it. And I so vehemently believe and know in my heart that people do want beautiful spaces for us and themselves and their neighbors. But there's also this thing like capitalism keeps us busy and tired and working. And by the time we get like we're so tired, or like we even saw today, there was so much trash and litter there, but there's also no trash cans, right?
Right.
And so the white cemetery, well, you got trash cans, white neighborhoods, you got trash cans everywhere. And even here in the city, there's certain areas where the trash is overflowing or have you. And it's not because we as Black folks inherently litter more, it's because we have less spaces to put our trash in. And so, like, just thinking about the systemic conditions impact us, both living and dead, but also I do believe that, the state of our cemeteries are a reflection of the state of our communities in the way that I believe that right now, we are the most assimilated Black people who have ever been here in the US. And it's just right? Because up until however many decades, up until my grandmother was almost an adult, it was segregated. And it's still segregated now.
Right.
But none of our foreparents have ever had this much interaction or this many ways that they had to kind of acquiesce a part of their culture or the way they think or what have you into to whiteness and to assimilate into that. And I do believe that there was a time we were slipping away from our cultural, deals or remembering even our dead and the things that they contributed. And there was this whole, you probably heard this saying, we are not our ancestors. And I hate that thing. It is so disrespectful, but yeah. And it's just it's so disrespectful. But when we think about that we're in a time people are saying that, it makes sense that we're not taking care of our cemeteries. They ain't got nothing in common with the folks in the ground. I'm like, the only thing different is because y'all on a different side of life. But like I was saying today, they have gone through so much of what we're going through, where the threats of fascism is already here in so many ways. Right. Racism, being hunted down by the state, having questions about where is our food going to come from, clean water, housing. I'm like, there's so much to learn. And we really do have to tap back into the way that they survived so we can see forward, because we are, a lot of us are scared, and rightfully so. We do have some legitimate fears, but also thinking about the things that our ancestors faced, knowing that we can get through it. But the reason I think so many people are scared is because we're up here we don't have a blueprint for how to do it. We do, actually. We just have to look back, the idea of Sankofa, go back and fetch it. We just have to go back and fetch it.
I think one of the things that I think you said today, you talked about our ancestors. I think it was you. Correct me if I'm wrong. You talked about our ancestors as an untapped resource. Was that you, or did someone else?
Someone else said that, and I'm trying to think of who it was now.
Yeah, but that thing hit home, and you reminded me of that again when you talk about our ancestors and what they endured, what they survived, what they overcame. And that's a part of the reason why I so appreciate what you're doing. I so appreciate the Chesapeake Conjure Society. Y'all got a brother in me. I don't care where y'all at. Y'all need help. You need somebody to roll up. I'm going to roll up. You need a pastor to be called or a church to be called. Y'all can be your church connect. In fact, speaking of that, let me just shout out Pastor Warren Savage and the Sharp Street United Methodist Church, and thank God for y'all for really, clearing the path for this to even happen. It was the first time I've ever observed All Saints Day. Like this year, my 40th year of this expression of my being. This was the first time, and to have that with my children and in your care and in the care of the other sisters, the other mamas who were there, it just did my heart so good. How can people learn more about you or connect with what you all are doing with the Chesapeake Conjure Society?
So I will be candid. If folks are more conservative, they probably do not want to follow me on social media. However, they're always free to follow my website. It is hoodoosociety.com. And there it has articles, random information. Well, you've been on there, information, events, whatever. It's building out. So it's a website that's building out, but there's a lot of information on there even right now. So hoodoosociety.com is one of them. I'm also a writer, actually. So if people, I hate to say Google me, that sounds so wild, but if you Google Hess Love, you'll see my poetry, you'll see my writing. That's another way to follow me. I am a featured writer on blackyouthproject.com.
Awesome.
So, and I do write about hoodoo, but not only hoodoo, a whole bunch of other stuff too.
Mhm.
And I've also been on Romper and a whole bunch of other places. So they can follow.
Wow. Well, you've earned that, Hess. Google Hess. Y'all heard what Hess said. Do your homework. Do your Google. Here's the website on the screen. Even if y'all it's just for information purposes, right? You're just doing research. You just want to help connect some dots. Go and get the homework. I mean, go get the research. Do your homework. Go read. It's just been eye-opening for me, and I'm just really grateful for the time spent. I pray that we can do this again and you can come back and just help us continue to heal. I'm very clear you're here to help us heal. And all of the sisters and the mamas and the Chesapeake Conscious Society, that's a powerful healing energy. And any way I can support, you know you got it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for just like the way you were so open to being connected with us. Like we so appreciate it.
Oh, indeed. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Have a good night.